Hey again, college football fans. All together now. It's the top 25 that actually makes sense. Not based on preseason perception, not based on anything that's not a result on the field, meaning the results count first and foremost. Wins and losses, of course. Number two is the schedule. Who did you play? The opponents. And then number three, the performance. So, for example, Team A can beat Team B 50 to nothing. I'm going to credit that dominance of performance much more heavily than if they won the game 28-27. Dominance of performance or lack thereof factors in significantly as well. All right, before we run down our Week 9 top 25, let's also keep in mind that we've come to a point in the season in which, get this, there are 42 teams that are either 6-2 or 5-3. 42 6-2 or 5-3 teams, and there are only about 10 spots for them in the top 25, which leads us to another aspect of this to consider. It's not like there are 25 good teams in the country and then it all of a sudden drops off a cliff. We hear analysts all over the place and pundits talk about, well, they've got this many ranked wins and they don't have this many ranked wins. Okay, I talk more in terms of quality of win. How many quality wins and to what degree? Of course, beating Alabama like Tennessee did is a much more quality win than Kansas State beating Oklahoma State, but they both notched a quality win, but to varying degrees, of course. And then, of course, the schedules are reevaluated each week because you could have wins in the past or losses in the past that have either been upgraded in regards to value because of the performance of those teams, or they have been downgraded. So keep that in mind that the schedule is constantly evaluated. It's a resume-based ranking. Just because I've got a particular team ranked ahead of another team does not mean that I believe that they would beat them. Okay? All right. Also, let's keep in mind that we've come to a place in the season in which we've got the A plus B does not necessarily equal C factor. For example, this is only one example of many. Kentucky beat Mississippi State. Mississippi State beat Arkansas. Arkansas beat South Carolina in pretty dominant fashion, and South Carolina beat Kentucky. We especially have these round-robin sort of scenarios in the SEC and the ACC where we have a glut of teams that are either 6-2 or 5-3. So let's get to the top 25 that actually makes sense. One more consideration is the Tulane factor. Okay, they have wreaked havoc with this in a number of ways. I have been doing this top 25 that actually makes sense 4 or 5 to 6 years, something in that range, because I got sick of looking at the AP and coaches poll that made no sense most of the time. Okay, so I have honored head-to-head to the nth degree until we get into these situations like I just outlined with those teams in the SEC. All right, but when it's a head-to-head matchup and there are no other factors involved in regards to compromising that head-to-head result, then I honor the head-to-head, and I always have. However, we've run into a situation with Tulane and Kansas State where Tulane is not losing. They defeated Kansas State in week 2 or 3. Kansas State is not losing, and when they do lose, there are a lot of conditions to those losses, like blowing an 18-point lead because they had their third straight quarterback in 2 weeks ago, and then they turn around and beat Oklahoma State 48-0. So Kansas State by far has a better resume than Tulane. I want to honor the head-to-head, though, and Tulane does have a better record, 7-1 to 6-2 for Kansas State. However, if this was in a vacuum, just ranking Kansas State and Tulane, guess what I would do? I would rank Tulane above Kansas State. However, think of all the other teams that are impacted. Every other team that has a better resume than Kansas State had to be ranked below Tulane as well. So it impacts 10 or 12 teams. We can't let that happen. The resume has to be the number one criteria. And here we go for the top 25 that actually makes sense. At number 25 is NC State. 24 is Arkansas. Number 23 is Mississippi State. 22, Wake Forest. What a downer for them over the weekend against Louisville. At number 21, Utah. On to the top 20 that actually makes sense. Texas, Oklahoma State, Tulane, there they are at number 18. Syracuse 17, North Carolina at 16. Here's the top 15. It includes UCLA, Illinois, Penn State, Kansas State, and USC. The top 10 starts with Ole Miss at number 10. Oregon's 9, LSU is 8. The Alabama Crimson Tide at 7. The Buckeyes of Ohio State at number 6. Here's the top 5. At number 5, Michigan. 4, Clemson. Georgia's at 3. TCU's at 2. And Tennessee confirmed its number 1 position with a blasting of Kentucky over the weekend. The Tennessee Vols at number 1. 2 big shows coming up this week. First and foremost, we've got the top 25 that actually makes sense reaction show. So please give me a call on Monday night, Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We've moved it from Tuesday to Monday. Give me a call on Monday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time because Tuesday night is, of course, the college football playoff selection rankings reveal, and we will be live with all of you. Watch party Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time right here at the Voice of College Football, and then we will open up the phone lines for your response or your reaction to the College Football Playoff Selection Committee rankings reveal number 1. Lock it in here at the Voice of College Football. We will take you home to the national championship game like nobody else. See you next time.